At the end of my first week in the field, and when after I joined the unit, we finished whatever little mission they were on, and we got extracted and dropped in another place, and then that lasted a few days, and then we were extracted from there and dropped at LZ Puma for Christmas. So there was a line company that was guarding LZP. It was a fire base and a remote fire base, and some of those guys had Christmas decorations up. There was a fake chimney and a little tree or something. But we were informed that there was a unilateral peace agreement that there would be no fighting on Christmas Day. Okay, and so on Christmas, a VC came up to the perimeter and emptied a magazine of AK-47 at us. And everybody ducked, nobody got hit. And I thought, well, isn't that great? You know, the first time I get shot at in Vietnam is the first unilateral peace agreement. That's the way it works over here, huh?
And that was Christmas Day?
Huh?
That was Christmas Day?
Yeah, it was Christmas Day. And then helicopter, gunship showed up and went chasing the guy looking for him and all that kind of stuff. And that was basically my introduction to Vietnam, getting shot at Christmas.
It was just an incredibly lonely time. And my distinct memories are that I was laying in bed, and our compound was within the city of Viton, and not terribly far from us was a Catholic church. And and everything is still, we have a ceasefire going, which I think that particular one held. But in the evening, you could hear that church playing, Christmas music. The singing, I don't recall there's any singing to it, but the music you certainly heard and understood. And then I started thinking about, well, this is number one, this is my first Christmas away from my family. I'd been in the Army at that time a couple of years, but this is the first time I've not been with my family at Christmas. And so you start thinking back, of all those memorable Christmases that you had, and in my case, particular, was going to my grandparents' house and having a nice meal and everybody, being around, and the festivities and that sort of thing. And I certainly miss that. And it got to the point I think I actually cried that night. I was just so overwhelmed by the loneliness that here I am crying in my bed and now I'm 21-year-old.
Were the Vietnamese, these were Catholics?
Yes.
Did you recognize the songs they were singing?
Well, I want to say Silent Night. I mean, that's always the classic, and that's the one that I certainly heard that night. So that was, and that I well up on that one. It's in English, or whenever I hear it, period. So that was the song.
If you have been to Christmas Eve or Christmas Day services over the past few years, have you found your mind drifting back to hearing those Vietnamese Catholics singing Silent Night?
Yeah, I tell you, I think I said earlier that when I hear Silent Night, anytime I well up, and I attribute it to that. I mean, it just, again, me laying in my bunk, just listening to that music and the stillness of the night, hearing that. Yeah, it gets me.
Christmas for me was not really an occasion other than, it was another day. We're probably on patrol that day. I'm not sure. I don't actually remember.
So was it one of those things where you were aware it was Christmas, but it just didn't matter, or were you even aware that it was Christmas?
Well, you kind of were, but I mean, there was no Christmas tree or no present exchanges or any of the traditional Christmas things.
You get field duty, and then you get rear duty. That's kind of how it worked for incoming lieutenants. So I might have had maybe 8 months out in the field because of that reactionary force, dragging a couple more months in there. And then I became a supply officer. So my job was to completely redo the supply area, and I did. I have a great OER in that. The officer was very happy with my work. And along with that, I decided to do something on the base for the locals, the Vietnamese. So we did a Christmas party and a Thanksgiving party, and we had them into our mess hall, all the children. And I had made a little room into, a black house room where I could do photography. And I have a book with 8x10 pictures of these kids and their expressions and their joy over something like this going on, and the joy from the unit to be able to do it.
I'll never forget Christmas Eve, because it was like probably one of the saddest times of my life, really. We were on ambush, and I was sitting up on the flight deck on this, because we had little flight decks on these boats, where they could bring in a helicopter and medevac and stuff. And sitting up there with another guy, and we were at ambush, and it was 6 of us on the boat, and we were 2 at a time would take, sit up there and take watch. If anything happened, we'd have to get the other guys up. And it was Christmas Eve, and I'll never forget it. The moon was out, and I was just looking down the canal at how calm everything was, and the light on the water, and it kind of like made me sad that I was there. And then all of a sudden, this helicopter started coming over. I started hearing this helicopter, and he was pretty high, and he was flying over past us. And it was like the loneliest sound I ever heard in my life. It's like, because he was leaving, and I could hear him go away, and we were still like there, But yeah, that was a pretty sad time, man.